Well, as we seem to be moving dangerously close to a deist explanation of creation, let's see if Dr. Anton Dawkins' DNA has come up with anything yet.
Right. Well, I've unravelled over 60 feet of this microscopic DNA strand now, and I'm halfway through this studio audience here. Studio, could you just hold that, please? Don't drop that.
Any more messages yet, Dr. Dawkins?
Yes, we're getting one message through now. Apparently Guinness is good for you. Also, the birds themselves did not actually play on the Mr. Tambourine Man single. And Betty the Will is taped behind the mirror. So I really think I'm getting somewhere now. If you could get back to me, you said I could just wrap this round your leg.
So, what are the naturalists? They say evidence for evolution is all around us, hewn into the living rock of planet Earth, fossils, strata of rock of different ages, and a scrawled message saying Ian Pterodactyl was here.
If we see the whole history of the universe as a single year, then man only arrived at 1 second to midnight on the 31st of December, by which time, though all the drink had run out, he did get to snog the girls and see Andy Stewart sing Auld Lang Syne on TV.
Thanks, Rich, but right now I'm standing here, deep in the bowels, literally, of a stained glass and Cotswold stone mock-up of evolutionist Charles Darwin. And at over 900 feet tall, this is the biggest model of a 19th century scientist in the world today. And it's been made especially for us at the Inexplicable World. But why? What bearing does Darwin have on today's programme to make this incredible model worth building? Let's find out.
1836. Charles Darwin arrives back in Britain after a 5-year voyage around the world. He's greeted at the dock by his old friends Dr. Charles Lyell and Professor Joseph Hooker.
Ha-ha, Charles, welcome home!
Tell us, Darwin, how was your voyage?
Fan-bloomin-tastic, mate. Sun, sea, sand, senoritas, all the native girls with no bras nor nothing. Nice! All-inclusive, a la carte, and once I shouted spaghetti at this Brazilian bloke. Everyone laughed. I tell you, I'm skint now, though.
In that case, Charles, it's a shame you didn't find time to do any scientific studies. Scientific pamphlets sell for anything up to 4 old pence old money these days.
That gives me a little idea.
That night, after an evening on the funny cigarettes with his friend Julian Jules Verne, Darwin set to his work.
Galapagos. Yeah, that sounds like a real island. What if I say that the action of the worms there helps form vegetable mould? That should cause a stir.
Each night, Darwin wrote a new pamphlet, and they began to outsell all others.
Mr. Darwin's latest pamphlet is an amazing pamphlet.
Yes, to think similar finches on different islands have beaks specially adapted for their habitat.
Yes, it could almost be a cartoon in the Punch magazine. Charles, have you met Sir John Stuart Mill?
Ah, Darwin, I love that bit with the coconut cracking crabs. They're great. A bit scary.
Cheers, Millsy. Have you met my friends? This is Bernice and this is Shirley. Nice, eh?
But public demand and a life of shameful excess put Darwin under increasing pressure from his publisher.
Dogs that catch fish. Orchids variously fertilised by insects. This is no good to me. This is the 1870s, Chaz. Get real. Your public expect better than this.
I can't think of anything else, Mandy. I've lost it. Give me another sachet of opium, please.
Excuse me, Mr. Darwin. We've come to repossess the jacuzzi.
No. All right, Mandy, listen. I'll say that man is descended from apes and baboons, all right?
That is the most outrageous and offensive idea I've ever heard. I love it. It'll sell 1 million.
Yeah, right. Any chance of an advance, Mandy?
Let's see how the debate's going.
Our planet is just a series of atoms and chemicals that happen to fuse in the chaotic void.
Yeah, but these chemicals you're on about, right, where did they come from, eh? Who made them, slaphead?
Dr. Gow-Jones, we have listened to your fantastical theory for 3 or 4 minutes now, and frankly it sounds like something dreamt up by Kenny Everett or Barry Cryer. But where, Jezebel, is your proof?
Well, there are the indisputable observations of generations of physicists and astrologers and reams of geological evidence, fossils, strata of rocks, which prove conclusively that I am right.
I am not seduced by your true facts.
But what if the laws of science themselves are somehow wrong, or affected by magnets from outer space or a telepathic ray? Then perhaps we're all wrong. We'll be back for their conclusions at the close of the show. But where does humanity itself spring from? And are we capable of creating life?
Yes, Richard, the spotless Einstein family copybook that you're so fond of was soiled, wasn't it, by the activities of Albert's infamous half-brother, Frank Einstein, who tried to create his own half-human monster out of discarded body parts.
Yes. No one must be allowed to try to create human life, outside the bounds of a holy marriage, of course. One of the universe's most timeless wonders has to be the birth of a little baby.
Unless you have to watch it, in which case it's one of the most disgusting and offensive things you'll ever experience.
But where do babies come from?
A 19th century Austrian couple claimed to have found their baby under a gooseberry bush. What they'd actually found was a gooseberry. But they raised it as one of their own anyway. And the hairy fruit grew up to be someone the whole world knew only too well. Adolf Hitler, Chancellor of Nazi Germany.
Test tube babies are the product of the unholy union of humans and test tubes. Unfortunately, the half-human, half-glass freaks cannot survive in the wild. Cracking in hot water, shattering in crates during family moves, and being smashed into fireplaces after Russian meals.
In modern Japan, it's already possible to electronically synthesize human babies without involving any real parents. But the Japanese emperor has banned this practice as immoral, which is ironic when you remember what the Japanese did to Allied prisoners during World War II. But, in general, babies come from an egg, fertilised by sperm inside the womb of a female human.
Now we just need one more piece of information before we can conclude. So over to Peter Fenn's Hammond organ Believe It or Not file. Peter!
Believe it or not, the evolutionary missing link has only been missing since 1906, when careless museum curator Ken Zetti left it in a plastic bag on the bus.
Thanks, Peter. And this week's Hammond organ music was?
It was A Walk in the Black Forest.
By?
That's by Jankowski.
So now it's time to answer the big one. Where does everything come from?
Yeah, and how are we going to do that exactly?
Well, I've been told in my ear that Anton Dworkin has found something unusual in his DNA.
Yes, the DNA strand has proved to be much longer than I expected. I've had to leave the audience, unravelling it behind me, and I'm now in the rooftop restaurant of the giant 900-foot Charles Darwin model. I'm just unravelling the last bit now. Here we go. The hidden ultimate message in our DNA is, if you want to know where everything comes from, then Ian, you know, from the party, is correct.
Well, that's a turn-up. Let's go back into the isolated soundproof box, where the debaters remain as yet unaware of the historic turn of events outside.
No, hold on. You know, I think maybe Ian's got it after all.
Of course, that super concentrated thing didn't make sense. I'm with Ian.
I am a rude upstart and must be punished.
Ian, you are right.
Oh.
Now, what was it you said again?
Hold on. I know. I believe there's some sort of creator, God, Buddha, call it what you will, but not in the traditional Bible sense. What if the world was created by a huge force like electricity, a bit like in Star Wars? Have you got any bread or a biscuit?
Well, there we go. We all know now how everything was created.
But we'll be back next week to answer another of life's inexplicable mysteries.
So there you have it, friend. That's where everything comes from. And you know, I've been a-thinking this last half hour. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps the world is a stage after all. A stage we must all pass through on the journey that is ourselves. Join me, Lionel Nimrod, again next time for more probings into this, my inexplicable world.
Inexplicable World featured Stuart Lee, Richard Herring, Rebecca Front and Armando Iannucci, with Tom Baker as Lionel Nimrod. It was written by Richard Herring and Stuart Lee and produced by the inexplicable Sarah Smith.